Assalomu alaykum, Firdavs aka.
Vaalaykum salom, Nodirjon.
Yaxshimisiz? Men
Rahmat.
hozir telefondaman, hozir bir 10 minutga kompyuterimdan kirishga ulguraman.
Xo'p bo'ladi, xo'p bo'ladi.
Bo'ldi, xo'p.
Yes, Ian, are you here? Are you here? Yeah, okay. Okay, okay, good. Ularni do'st beryapsizmi nimalarga, yevropaliklarga? Yevropaliklarga do'sti bo'lmayapti, keyin shu
Feruza Musayna, man kirdim, нормально все.
Assalomualaikum, hurmatli qatnashchilar, assalomualaikum, hurmatli spikerlar va navbatdagi bizning konferensiyamizga xush kelibsizlar. Добрый вечер всем, кто участвует, добрый вечер участники, добрый вечер коорганизаторы, добрый вечер участники нашей конференции. Меня зовут Феруза Мусайна Рашидова, я являюсь председателем Ассоциации учителей английского языка Узбекистана, также коорганайзером этой настоящей конференции, которую мы проводим второй раз. Мы очень признательны Maharat Management, который организовал эту платформу для нас, и Research Support Center, который напрямую работает с нами, и Европейскому фонду образования, который поддержал нашу инициативу. Конечно же, из государственных организаций мне отдельно хочется поблагодарить Министерство высшего и среднего специального образования, которые поддержали нашу инициативу. Dear guests, dear speakers, we are starting our conference. It's very hard to start because I can't see your faces. If you please open your faces, would be great. So I would like to say thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Nazar. Thank you, Timur, Brother John. I can't see the partners from ETF yet. Are they here? Natasha is here. Interpreters are here. Great. Anyway, my name is Feruza Rashidova. I'm the head of Uzbekistan Teachers of English Association. I'm the co-organizer of this conference, and I'm happy to say that my co-organizers here, Maharat Management, who is kindly providing all support and supporting the education, research, and new initiatives. I'm happy to say thank you to Research Support Center Of course, our initiative was supported by ETF, European Training Foundation, and Ministry of Higher Education, and secondary specialized education as well. Today, we would talk about engagement of civil society organizations with governmental organizations. This research was supported by ETF, and the mainly speakers would be from ETF, and I would try to run the conference in English. The interpreters will try to help us. Yes, let's wait a little bit until the others will join us. We are waiting for the Deputy Minister, Mr. Khalmukhamedov, and Director of Innovation Institute under the Ministry of Higher Education, Mr. Kudaiberdiyev. Still, we have here the Deputy Director of this institution, Sheikh Nazar Sharafidinov, who is with us, and as a representative from the Ministry of Higher Education, another John Ergashev, who was taking part in this research as well. So I hope in the future he will continue doing this research in order to support LLL in our country, lifelong learning. Sirius, hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Feruza.
Hey, hello, Syria.
Hi.
Nice to see you, Syria. We have started, and in order not to keep waiting the people, Sirius is here. Great. Good evening. For us, good evening. For you, good afternoon, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, great.
Good evening. Nice to see
and
you.
When we wait for Jan, is he here as well?
Yes, he's here.
I'm here.
And also my colleague,
Hey, Jan,
Stelios.
here.
Yes, we are
Good
all
evening,
here.
Jan.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Syria, I
Good
cannot
evening to
hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Would you please switch on the audio? Please mute. Your voice is muted.
Really?
Yes.
Here it looks like it's open. No, you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Maybe it's because of
Yeah,
our
Maybe you should
organizers.
put your heads on.
Can you hear me, Syria, Stelios?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
And
Hello, this is Timur.
hello.
Hello.
Hi there, Timo.
Yes, Ian, how you doing? We
I'm good.
exchanged emails and
You're safe, are you?
yes.
Safe travel? Good.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Feroz asked me to talk a little bit about the rules for people participating in the administrative stuff. So I'll kind of say it in a couple of languages.
Mhm.
In Uzbek, birinchidan gapirayotgan odamlar mikrofonni yoqib gapirish kerak. Zoom gapirayotgan odamni videoni qo'yadi. Birdaniga ikkita odam gapirsa, masalan, Zoom ushlamasligi mumkin, keyin odamlar yaxshi eshitmaydi. Bu yerda chat degan narsa bor, yozsa bo'ladi. Masalan, savol bo'lsa qanaqadir yoki qanaqadir texnik muammo bo'lsa, o'sha yerda yozib yuborsangiz bo'ladi, keyin o'shanga qarab yordam berishga harakat qilinadi. Значит, Zoom реагирует сразу на говорящих. Это сейчас он в таком режиме, насколько вижу. Поэтому, когда вы говорите, включайте, пожалуйста, микрофон. Когда вы не говорите, выключайте, пожалуйста, микрофон. И то же самое с видео. Это помогает на самом деле трафику, как в Узбекистане, если видео большинство людей там будут выключены, и только спикер будет выступать. Есть функция чат, где можно написать, если у вас есть какие-то технические проблемы, то кто-нибудь вам, так сказать, сможет там помочь. And just in English, so that the Zoom is, it seems like in this setting right now, it reacts to who is speaking, to the person speaking. So one person should be speaking, the mic should be off. Only when you speak, you turn it on, and otherwise you turn it off. And the videos, actually, the speakers It's okay to keep the videos off on. Everybody else, ideally would keep the video off. That will help with the traffic here in Uzbekistan. Sometimes it's challenging for people. So if the videos, most videos are off, then it's a bit easier for people. So that's it on the rules, and there's a chat function. Obviously, if there's a problem, then please type there and we'll try to help out. Thank you.
Thank you, Timur. I would like to introduce here the translators, Alisher Hashimov and Marat, who will spontaneously translate everything what we will talk about. That's why we can start. And let me, I have done a small introduction, and I would like to warn you that everything is recording. So we are on Facebook chat. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I would like to start with introduction and hope that to give the possibility to other speakers to feel themselves very, very free in order to talk in 3 languages, so Uzbek, Russian, English. I really wanted, if everybody would be here, this, that we have, okay, I'm turning into Russian, so you will improve Russian, yeah? Закон об образовании Республики Узбекистан, принятый в 2020 году, отдельно отмечает роль признания формальной, неформальной и информальной системы образования как главную форму обучения образования в течение всей жизни. С 2018 года Узбекистан стал подключаться к глобальной сети обучающихся городов по инициативе нашего президента. И первым городом среди, мы можем гордо сказать, среди Центральной Азии Ташкент был включен в 2019 году в глобальную сеть обучающихся городов. В прошлом году Фергана был подключен, в этом году мы готовим Самарканд к этой сети. Это говорит об ответственности наших городов к подключению обучения в течение всей жизни. Именно поэтому наша инициатива УСИ Махорат Менеджмент был поддержан Европейским фондом образования плюс Министерством высшего и среднеспециального образования. Таким образом, мы начали делать научные исследования в этом направлении, и сегодняшняя конференция – это 2-я конференция, которую мы проводим. Мне очень приятно говорить о том, что эта конференция посвящена новому исследованию Узбекистана с ETF, с его партнерами стран, как Азербайджан, Казахстан, Таджикистан и Грузия, где мы говорили об интеграции государственных гражданских организаций с государственными органами. Я с удовольствием хочу представить нашего Иоанна Камин, который является координатором ИЕФ в Узбекистане и нашим главным человеком, партнером, который поддерживает нас во всем. Я хочу представить здесь представителей Министерства высшего и среднеспециального образования Чехназара Шарафуддинова и Нодырджана Иргашева, которые представляют сегодня Министерство высшего и среднеспециального образования. К сожалению, замминистр господин Холмухаммедов не смог участвовать в связи с тем, что он в это время, в этот же час занят на другой конференции, связанной с правительством. И господин Худайбердиев, он является директором Института исследований при Министерстве и инноваций при Министерстве высшего и среднеспециального образования, который тоже имеет сегодня отдельная причина не присутствует, потому что он находится в Кашкадаре. Возможно, они подключатся чуть позже, но я сейчас хочу представить слово господину Яну Камину, который с удовольствием откроет нашу конференцию. Ian, floor is yours.
Good afternoon, good evening again, everyone, and thank you very much, Dr. Rashidova, for inviting us. My colleagues here with me today represent one of the projects, just one of the projects of the ETF, together with you in Uzbekistan. I have a very short 2 or 3 slide presentation. Would you like me to present that now?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I will need to share the screen. Okay, now as I go into the presentation, obviously I am not able to see you all very well. So please shout out if something is going wrong and I can't see it. I have three things to share with you today. As we will later, the civil society survey, the final item on this list, we'll be looking at in detail. But first of all, I would like to just recap a little for those of you who know the ETF a little bit, or those of you who don't know the ETF and its work in Uzbekistan. We will be working with you on many projects this year and in coming years in the area of skills development, vocational education and training, and lifelong learning. And we represent the European Union International Cooperation Agency, the European Training Foundation, which works on behalf of the European Union and its member states. Today we'll look at one particular project which gives us an example of how we work together, and we will explain a little bit the technicalities of a project together with you, and look at how future projects will be developing. And perhaps in future seminars we can go into more detail about some of these other projects, which include surveys and analyses of economic sectors such as the craft, traditional craft sector, or the agribusiness sectors, or the development of skills in enterprises. The second point I wanted to mention very quickly, but we'll come back in more detail perhaps in coming weeks, and I'll move on in our slides, is we've been requested by the European Union, the European Commission, to develop the specification, the concept for a Central Asian cooperation program with the European Union in vocational education and training, in particular in inclusive vocational education and training, and in particular for young women and men seeking to enter into quality work and quality jobs. This is quite a big project, and it will be over a number of years, 4 or 5 years, and we hope it will begin in 2022. And significantly, we will begin in 2 weeks' time consulting with the countries, including yourselves, in an online consultation, which for Uzbekistan will be on the 10th of May at 2 o'clock your time. And we will be involving Deputy Minister Holmukhamedov and other stakeholders from other key ministries and institutions in the government. You will be receiving official information about that consultation via the European delegation in Tashkent and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Uzbekistan. Okay, so that's all I wanted to mention in terms of activities. I'll just go back to remind us before we begin looking at a specific project, what it is that we do in our work. And you see here a slide which explains the geography of where we work, the areas of our knowledge, working with policy advice, and also the implementation of policies, therefore the monitoring and assessment of impact, of change. And increasingly we work in a future perspective of looking for and understanding what skills are going to be needed, so the anticipation of skills, and what changes are happening in the labor market in terms of demand and relevance. So those are the areas that we work in together with you, and you see there the other partner countries in the 4 geographic regions in which we are working. And I've provided to the conference organizers today my slides and the slides from the previous presentation for those of you who were not attending the first event. So I'll stop sharing now. Thank you very much for your attendance. Okay. There we are.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Back to you, Firuza.
Yes, thank you very much, Ian, for very good and very short spot of presentation where 28 countries of Europe is taking part in this, and plus I know that many countries from Asia, or almost all the countries of Central Asia are taking part in this project of ETF. And I would like to give the floor to the head of the project, to the Syria. If I say this, Syria Taureli, please. Head of the last project, which where Uzbekistan was involved, is one of the main actors, and 21 NGOs were taking part in this very good research, and we really would like to support you, Syria, in the further research. You're welcome. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Feruza. Thank you very much, especially for the invitation, and we are very glad to have some time to discuss the results of our research together on civil society organizations. We have prepared several aspects of this presentation, and if you agree, Feruza, we could start with a very short introduction about the methodology, and second, which Ian will make. Second, we can focus on the results, specifically on the Uzbekistan as a country. And thirdly, we can have an overview of comparative results, because I think what is very important to inform all the participants is that the survey on civil society organizations covered 6 countries. And Uzbekistan was one, and so my colleague Stelios will make a comparative presentation, and I will give some concluding remarks. But at the moment in European Training Foundation, this survey of civil society is regarded as a very innovative and very informative and very important survey, in which Uzbekistan was one of the countries to participate. So thank you, and I would like to invite Ian.
This is just beginning, where the NGOs has just started their research on that. So there are more than 11,000 NGOs in Uzbekistan, and they would love to have this methodology. Thank you, Syria, and then I would like to invite Stelios to the stage, please. Stelios. Yes, great.
You're muted, Stelios. I think, Feruza, I have 3 slides to present the project, and then I pass over to Stelios to do the cross-country analysis.
Yes, okay.
Let me share my screen again. We were practicing earlier how to best present our project, and we thought it would be better if I introduce the top level, and Stelios, with his expertise, best presents the international analysis. So let me just the civil society organization study is kind of born within the project area, the thematic area of ETF we call governance. It's how things work and how things are governed in a state or a region. And in this particular case, the inquiry that ETF wanted to pursue was really coming out of the agendas that we see in Europe and also internationally, in terms of the value of informal, non-formal learning, and the value that civil society, NGOs, non-governmental organizations can give to that area of learning. So very much within the lifelong learning perspectives that you have embraced in this seminar series. We, however, are very conscious that lifelong learning, especially in many countries, the priority is beyond the traditional teachers, schools, and state system, and involves many actors in formal and informal systems. And thirdly, we've seen with the COVID-19, the mistake there, we've seen with the with the pandemic, that there is a huge importance in the non-formal, informal learning areas. Their ability to respond, to react, to be resilient, to change fast, and to deliver and maintain learning has been critical and has in many cases been very challenging. And so the survey is very timely from this perspective. What were the objectives of the survey? Well, the project team, so there's a number of colleagues in ETF that Celia heads up who have engaged with countries like Uzbekistan, and this is an example of how ETF works. We look for countries to volunteer. We look for cooperation and partnership, and this is part of the ETF's ongoing future strategy, looking for partnership and looking for cooperation. So the objectives of the project to survey in a very structured way, which my colleague Stelios will go into some more detail on, the nature of the civil society organizations within the country, and thereby gain both a country understanding, but also comparing countries, a more meta level, a higher level understanding of how civil societies are working in different contexts, different regions, and different countries. And from that reflection, we begin to develop our human social knowledge about how we might change and improve the development of civil societies in a particular context. We were also, in a second objective, very interested in looking at specifically how civil society organizations have responded to the crisis, have been able to respond, and have struggled to respond, have found difficulties to respond. And there again, there's a learning exercise for policy makers and policy advisors working in this area. And thirdly, we were also interested in looking at the civil society's own understanding and perception of their effectiveness, their impact, and how that could be improved over time and in the future. As Celia mentioned, there were 6 countries across the 4 regions that ETF is engaged with. The Western Balkans and Turkey region, we have Albania. In the Middle Eastern, North African area, we have Jordan. Again, in the West Balkans, we have Serbia. In Central Asia, we have Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, and in Eastern Europe, we have Ukraine. So a very interesting mix of countries, and as you go across with your eyes the names of the countries, you might begin to get some ideas about where there may be lots of commonalities, Ukraine perhaps, with former Soviet Union countries, centrally planned economies in transition, or perhaps where there will be big differences, and therefore we'll be seeing interesting elements of diversity in civil society. We defined some terms within the survey as flexible as possible, understanding the diversity of the countries and the context. We define CSOs, civil society organizations, to be very wide, and we helped and assisted the countries in coming to an understanding about which organizations to include and which not to include. And there's a whole seminar we could have on just that discussion. So I think at that point, I've introduced the project, and it's a good idea for me to return to Stelios, unless Nadir is there to present the specific country work from Uzbekistan, which would be the logical sequence for Uza.
Yes, he is here. And then Celia, please manage the team. Who will present what?
Yes.
Because every day we lost and we can't. Sorry for that. Other is ready, and he is ready with his presentation as well.
Okay, I'm signing off.
Celia?
Yes, Feruza, I think I agree with Ian that it would be logical to invite Nodir at this stage to introduce the main results of the survey in Uzbekistan. And after Nodir, Stelios will introduce a comparative analysis. And after Stelios, I can add some comments.
Yes, waiting for Nodir. Please, Nodir, join us. Surajidin, would you please help us? Tell us.
I don't see him on the participants. He seems to have dropped out.
He was one of the first. Let me find him. Surajidin, will you please continue for a while and then I'll try to reach Nodir John?
Yes. I mean, the idea, I don't know why we wait for Nodir, maybe to add a couple of elements about the survey. I mean, the survey was organized in 4 main blocks. We collected information through questionnaires directed to organizations. And for each organization, we invited the responses from one person only. So the person who was interviewed was representative of the entire organization. So we had 1 response per organization. So the total number of responses actually reflects the number of organizations that participated in the survey. And the survey, the type of questions were divided in 4 blocks, say 4 areas. The first area was about the main activities of the organization and what they do in practice in terms of developing the skills of the people, in providing non-formal learning, in supporting self-learning or informal learning, as well as any activity that can help people to utilize their skills in order to find a job, a good job. So a job that corresponds to the level of skills that they have acquired. So this was the first part of the questionnaire, trying to understand the profile and activities of the organization. The second area of the question, so second block, was dedicated to the response in an emergency situation like the pandemic. So the questions actually were about whether each individual organization had changed the activities, or maybe created new activities, or maybe addressed a new group of population because of new needs due to the pandemic. The third area was about, say, the so-called policy dialogue. And the questions were about how your organization cooperate and coordinate with state institutions, or maybe with regional institutions, or maybe with other organizations, or with schools, or business associations. So what type of dialogue is in place in order to have a more coherent response and provision of lifelong learning. And the fourth and last area was about the perspective for future. So the questions were about whether the organization is planning to increase the activities in lifelong learning, or maybe to continue as they do now, or to open new areas of work. So it was about the potential for future development. So with these 4 areas, we try to investigate, you know, in general, what is the role of civil society organization in human capital development, non-formal learning, employment. And so we hope now to hear if we are ready. Feruza, let me know if Nodir is available.
Nodir is here.
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
Okay, Nodir. Yes, now I see you. I give you the floor.
Because
But I don't know why somebody's locked me here. Neither my camera nor my microphone is working. Just I'm listening, but I want to say hello, but I can't. That's why. Just they helped me to.
So the floor is yours.
My microphone and my camera. And can I demonstrate my display screen?
Yes, please. Yes, please. You are here for 21 CSOs
Oh my God.
of Uzbekistan.
And here is, can I present my presentation in Uzbek language? I think here is a translation, yeah?
I think yes, because simultaneous interpretation is going on.
Tarjimonimiz bo'ladimi shunday qilsak?
Ha, bo'ladi, bemalol.
Assalomu alaykum barchaga. Men Nodir Ergashev bo'laman. Demak, hozir Siriya xonim o'tkazilgan o'sha so'rovnomadan qisman tushuntirib o'tdilar, qaysi qismlar bo'yicha so'rovnoma o'tkazilganini. Men o'sha so'rovnomani qismlariga to'xtalib o'tirmayman va O'zbekistondagi o'sha ko'rib o'tilgan natijalari bilan tushuntirib o'taman, ko'rsatib o'taman. Demak, bizda o'sha o'tkazilgan so'rovnomalardan oldin shu O'zbekistondagi fuqarolik jamiyatlari, endi bizda O'zbekistonda asosan o'sha NNOlar deb yuritiladi, demak nodavlat notijorat tashkilotlar ham, demak ular ham o'sha fuqarolik jamiyati tashkilotlari sifatida faoliyat olib yurishi mumkin. Shuning uchun umumiy qilib olganmiz. Shunda o'sha 91-yildan boshlab, demak 20-yilgacha bo'lgan davrdagi o'sha fuqarolik jamiyatlari, nodavlat tashkilot, nodavlat nekommersiya nimalarni o'sish darajasini ko'rib borganmiz. Shunda men 91-yilda 95 ta bo'lgan, ya'ni 91-92-yillarda, 90-yillar shu o'rtada. Demak 2010-yillardan kelib, demak bu o'sish juda yuqori darajada bo'lib borgan. Demak, masalan 2020-yilda kelib, hozirda demak o'sha 9,5 mingdan oshiq, ya'ni o'sha fuqarolik jamiyatlari demak ro'yxatdan o'tgan va o'sha ish faoliyatini olib boryapti. Demak, so'rovnomamizda asosan bizda ishtirok etishi kutilganda 29 ta o'sha tashkilot ishtirok etishi kutilgandi, lekin 25 tasi demak faol ishtirok etdi va o'sha 25 tasi bo'yicha demak biz savolnomalarni demak umumlashtirib analiz qilib chiqdik. Demak shu 25 ta ishtirok etganlardan 21 tasi demak asosan shu bosh ofisi Toshkent shahrida joylashganligini ma'lum qilgan. Shulardan keyin Qashqadaryoda ikkitasi, Farg'onada va Samarqandda demak o'sha ofislari joylashganini ma'lum qilishgan. Undan tashqari shu ishtirok etganlardan demak 10 tasi o'zini demak hududlarda o'zini ofislari borligini, ya'ni o'sha filiallari borligini ko'rsatib o'tgan. Undan tashqari o'sha boshqarish jarayoni deganimizda mana ko'rib turibsiz-ku, demak qaysidir o'sha national levelda deydi, shu national levelda yoki o'sha umumiy nimada ishtirok etishadi. Demak, undan keyin nimalarning ishtirokchilarning savolnomaga ishtirok etgan o'sha tashkilotlarning ko'pchiligi demak o'sha 40-50 kishidan iborat demak xodimlari borligini ko'rsatib o'tgan. Va shu o'rinda aytishimiz kerakki, shu ishtirok etganlarning 8 ta tashkilot 50 kishidan ortiq demak o'zini o'sha xodimlari yoki o'sha volontyorlari borligini demak ko'rsatib o'tgan. Shuningdek, moliyalashtirish jihatdan kelganimizda demak o'sha savolnomani ketma-ketligini aytib ketmayman, chunki Siriya xonim demak tushuntirib ketdilar qaysi nimalar bo'yicha bo'lganini. Shuning uchun demak umumiy nimada ko'rsatib ketaman. Demak, moliyalashtirish shaklida kelganimizda demak o'sha ishtirokchilarning 40% demak 40% demak o'sha o'zlarini mahsulotlarini sotish yoki o'zlarini o'zi demak finansirovать, ya'ni moliyalashtirish bilan moliyalashtirilishi ma'lum bo'ldi va o'sha ishtirokchilarning 32% davlat tomonidan yoki o'sha davlat tomonidan beriladigan subsidiyalar yoki o'sha grantlar orqali moliyalashtirishini demak ko'rsatib o'tgan. Shuningdek, bu ishtirok etganlarni demak qanchalik necha yillik demak tajribaga ega, qancha vaqtdan beri shu nima deydi tashkilot faoliyat yuritayotgani bilan ham biz qiziqqanimizda demak ishtirokchilardan mana ko'rishingiz mumkin deyarli 5 tasi demak o'sha nima deydi nimada oxirgi o'sha 15-20 yillik demak tajribaga ega ekanligini ko'rishimiz mumkin bo'ladi va ko'pchiligi bo'lsa o'sha oxirgi 5-6 yilda demak o'z faoliyatini yo'lga qo'yganini ko'rsatib o'tgan. Keyin shu o'rinda biz yana savolnomada kiritgandik, qaysi yo'l orqali ijtimoiy tarmoqlar orqali demak faol demak faoliyat olib borasiz deganimizda ko'pchilik xabaringiz bor, O'zbekistonda bizda asosan Facebook, YouTube va o'sha Telegram kanallari orqali demak o'sha o'z faoliyatlarini olib borib, o'zlarini tashkilotlari to'g'risida tanishtirib borishlarini demak ma'lum qilishgan. Demak, undan keyingi demak savolnomamizda yana shunday joy bor ediki, demak bularni o'sha xizmatlaridan yoki o'sha nima deydi faoliyatidan ko'proq kim manfaatdor deganda demak 78% demak ishtirokchilardan o'sha 78% demak ayollar asosan demak o'sha ayollarni o'qitish, ayollar kasbga o'qitish yoki o'sha ayollarga yordam berish bilan demak faoliyati yo'lga qo'yganini ma'lum qilgan. Shuningdek, yana shu o'rinda demak yoshlarga ham demak o'sha yoshlarni o'qitish, yoshlarga amaliy yordamlar berish, tajriba berish kabi ma'lumotlarni taqdim qilishgan. Xo'p, demak shu o'rinda yana ko'rsatib o'tildiki, demak qaysi yo'l orqali, ya'ni samarali o'sha o'zlarini aktivitalarini deydi, ya'ni faoliyatlarini nimasini olib borishlari ma'qul deganda ko'pchiligi demak o'sha traditsion yo'llar va o'sha nima deydi onlayn, ya'ni zamonaviy o'sha texnologiyalar orqali o'tishlarini demak ko'rsatib o'tishgan. Xo'p, shu o'rinda yana savolnomani asosiy nimasi, ya'ni o'sha pandemiya davrida demak ularning faoliyatida qanchalik ta'sir qildi pandemiya. Demak, shu joyini aytganda, demak pandemiya o'sha 25 tadan 16 ta ishtirokchi, o'sha ishtirokchi tashkilot demak pandemiya ularning faoliyatiga ta'sir qilganini demak ko'rsatib o'tishgan. Keyin yana shu o'rinda aytish kerakki, bu savolnomada bor edi, yana o'sha sur
Milliy barqaror rivojlantirish.
O'sha barqaror rivojlantirish bo'yicha demak juda faol ishtirok etganliklarini va u O'zbekistonda shu tashkilotlarning faoliyatini olib borishda juda katta o'rin egallaganini ham ko'rsatib o'tishgan. Xo'p. Shuningdek, endi asosan sizlarning faoliyatlaringizdan manfaatdor aholi qatlami kim deb ko'rsatilganda, demak asosan yoshlar va o'sha yoshi katta va ayollar deb ko'rsatib o'tilgan savol javoblarda demak o'sha ko'rsatib o'tilgan edi. Shuningdek, demak bular faoliyati davomida yana shuni ko'rsatib o'tishki, demak hukumat, ya'ni davlatning roli, mamlakatning roli qanchalik degan savolda ko'pchilik o'sha ishtirokchilar, so'rovnomaga ishtirok etganlar aytishyapti, asosan demak o'sha davlat tashkilotlari tomonidan maslahat yoki shu hamkorlik, qaysidir nimalar hamkorlik qilishda juda keng faoliyat olib borganlarini ko'rsatib o'tishgan. Shuningdek, ularni demak asosan manfaatdor o'sha qism demak o'sha davlat tashkilotlari ekanligini ham demak ko'rsatib o'tilgan. O'ylaymanki, usta va bunda ko'rinyaptimi Ferzam So'na?
Da ko'rindi. Rahmat, rahmat Ombudjon. Sizga?
Yana nima bo'ldi bu?
Hello? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Nadir, and I would like to invite my colleague Stelios to continue.
Good afternoon, everybody. Really a pleasure to be here today and present our work. As presented, as Ian said and as Syria said, it's a collaborative project taking place in many countries, and this is exactly what we're going to see at the moment.
Yes.
It says you cannot start the screen while the other participant is sharing. So, Hadir, can you kindly stop sharing so I can do it?
No, John. You should close your presentation, please.
Let me try again. No, I cannot.
Yes, please try and yes,
Okay.
great.
Now I can start.
Yeah. This is technique, but we are managing.
Yes, we are doing fine. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Can you see this?
Yes, that's fine.
The presentation, right? Okay. Okay. So, as presented by Hadir, now we're just going to take a step back and look what the other countries answered on the same questions and see some differences, in some similarities with Uzbekistan. I'm just going to go quickly through the aim. It's presented by my colleagues and Hadir as well. Just to quickly remind you, the 4 areas we've been talking about the beneficiaries, some questions on the COVID, about the stakeholders and the policy dialogue, and the potential in the human capital development sector. So more policy kind of questions, the last 2 groups. So straight away, let's have a look on the Sustainable Development Goals. Straight away with blue on the right-hand side, you can see that Uzbekistan is focusing on target number 1 that has to do with no poverty, and the target number 17 on partnerships for the goal. On the contrary, we can see countries like Albania, like Ukraine, like Jordan, focusing a lot on the target number 8 on good jobs and economic growth, and a little bit less on gender equality and reducing inequalities. So a different pattern here, a blueprint where the CSOs are actually working on the areas they're working on. Let's move to the next one. This is actually a focus on the beneficiaries. We've seen by Hadir that women, by 78%, as responding by the CSO, are an area that the CSOs are working. This is quite a similar result with Jordan and with Albania as an area of focusing by the CSOs. And to a less extent is the vulnerable group. We see that almost 1 in every 4 of the CSOs are working in the area of the vulnerable group, vulnerable youth. Again, mixed results. Albania is focusing a lot in the youth area. To a less extent, we can see that for Serbia and Jordan. Then we ask the question about the content of your organization activities related to skill development and specifically on technical competencies. What we can see is that there is a strong message by the CSOs in Uzbekistan. 72% very often focus on these technical competencies. And as a result, we can see also in Jordan and in Albania, and to a less extent in Ukraine and in Serbia. So a strong message, technical competencies are included in the activities of the CSOs in their content that is. Relationship with our authorities, a question we really liked in ETF. And in this extent, Uzbekistan CSOs presented quite a balanced actually response. They say that they are collaborating up to 1 every third, very often on, or even not very often and never a good part of them. This kind of balance, we've also saw it in Ukraine, to a less extent, of course, on the more never side. And again, it's a question, we can keep it for later for our discussion and see what exactly is translated and how we can interpret it further. Continue to our next question. Again, a question we really liked in ETF is on the effective learning environment in the field of skill development in non-formal and informal learning. So we asked in simple words the CSOs, which one do you believe is an effective environment for you to deliver your services? What we got from Uzbekistan is something that we more or less saw in all the other countries. With blue, 67% of the questioned CSOs answered that the classroom, the traditional mean of the classroom, the training center, or something similar, it's a very effective mean place to deliver their services. What about the on the job and on the line? Well, they are in between 20 and 30%. So there is a very effective, they are perceived as a very effective means of delivering the services. And this actually goes a little bit higher, just above 30, between 30 and 50% when filtered by only effective. As I said in the beginning, this trend of the CSOs believing that the classroom is an effective area to deliver our services is in all the other countries surveyed, more or less with a bit more or less higher rates, almost 99% for Albania, around 60 for Jordan and Serbia, and 46 for Ukraine. Okay, COVID pandemic. Special period, so special section in our survey. Did the beneficiary groups change? Did you see a change of the beneficiary groups? Yes, 72%, and no, 28%. So more than 2 out of 3 changed this, the beneficiary groups. We have seen this result being quite mixed, could be balanced in Jordan, a no from Albania, and a stronger no from Ukraine. So this is a nice area. This is a nice area we can explore later in our conversation. Are they short-term lessons learned? A very strong message from all the countries, from all the CSOs, from our survey conducted, all the way to 80% for Uzbekistan, more than 80% or close to 80% for Jordan. So the message is there. The message is there that all the CSOs learned something during this period. Stakeholders. A question relating on how your organization is involved in the dialogue regarding skill strategies and policies. We found that almost 50% of the CSOs answered a positive yes regularly or a yes occasionally. There is another almost 1/3, 30%, that answered I'm not involved, but I would like to be. And A smaller 20%, no, but I would like to participate in the future. So let's focus on this 22%, on this no, but I would like to participate in the future. We saw it more or less in many countries. We saw it in Albania, that it was a bit stronger. We saw it in Jordan. We saw it to more or less the same rate in Serbia. So it's an area that we've seen it more or less happening. And the other 1/3, it's actually a percentage that is quite unique for Uzbekistan. It's the CSO says that I'm not interested in the policy dialogue. So this is the third message that is we can keep for us to discuss it at the end of this presentation, at the end of this talk. And then the final part on the potentiality of your organization in forming, for example, the human capital development sector. So we are looking for advantages and possible future contribution to the sector as a whole. Here we have two questions and we'd like to compare and contrast them together. The first one is focuses on the independent advice given by the CSOs, and the second one on the innovative ones. So on the left-hand side is how independent is your advice, on the right-hand side, how innovative. Qualitative, more or less we get the same results for Uzbekistan. They see that it's a major advantage, more than half of them, to provide independent and innovative advice. And when compared to the other countries, we really get a mixed picture. On the independent side, more or less, all the countries found that it's a major advantage, with the exception of Albania, that they found that it's only an advantage, not a strong advantage. This independent advice given to the sector and the policies related. And the innovative side, a clear picture emerging for Uzbekistan, as it's the only country that sends such a strong message that I do provide innovative advice as a CSO when it comes to the bigger picture of policies. Very interesting question again, that we saw them in parallel. A related question, improve the outcome of policy dialogue and public consultations. And this is actually a reverse picture that we've seen it in many countries emerging, as the participation of the CSOs as a means to improve the outcome of policy dialogue is seen less of a major or an advantage at all, and mainly it's perceived as a no advantage at all from the Uzbekistan CSOs, as in many other countries, like in Serbia, and to a less extent to Ukraine. The picture only differs for Albania. So we see two groups of countries actually forming when it comes to improving the outcome of policy dialogue and public consultations. And this is a wrap-up question, a question we liked it. It's on the fourth section. And overall, we ask the CSOs, do you believe that you support there's a support in the effectiveness of education in training and other learning processes? Strong yes. 2 out of 3. This is a major advantage of the CSOs. In Uzbekistan, the same picture is also for Albania, a major advantage as well for Jordan, and for Ukraine, and to a less extent in Serbia, as the picture is quite mixed. So, takeaways. In Uzbekistan, we've seen that poverty and partnership for goal is the main themes when it comes to the UN goals, Sustainable Development Goals. There is a strong support for women and, to a less extent, to vulnerable youth when it comes to skills development, and a mean for providing that is through the technical competencies, strongly supporting classroom and similar environment as effective learning environment, areas to learn, but the online, as we can see, and on the job is also supported. We had some changes of beneficiaries during the pandemic, probably the strongest changes we've seen when compared to the other countries. Strong short-term lessons learned, a strong message in this question. The majority of the CSOs are involved in policy dialogue. They provide innovative advice to shape the human capital development policies and supporting the effectiveness of education, training, and other learning processes. That's it from my side. I hope we can stimulate a nice discussion and we can go through some of the points together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sigas. Thank you, Sige. Now, floor is open for questions and answers, right?
Yes. Before I add some comments about lifelong learning and lifelong learning policies in the European Union, I think if there are questions, this is the right moment to Nodir and to Stelios, because their presentations were very rich.
Yes, it is very rich presentation and it's very rich scientific research. Congratulations for that. It's a first step actually in Uzbekistan when we are learning this, the role of CSOs and human capital development. Great work. Congratulations. Okay, questions from participants, you're welcome to take part. You may write on the chat if you have the questions. And I would like to note to everybody that this presentation is recording and going online through the Facebook. I'm sure we will answer for many questions in the future and further as well. And then I'm sure it will raise many questions from other NGOs. And then there is a foundation of NGOs at the Parliament of the Republic of Uzbekistan. They may be interested in that. And our part of experts would be to translate these all materials into Uzbek, Russian, and provide it to the government and to the public as much as we can. Of course, we do it. It's just the beginning, Syria, you're ready. Yeah. Okay, for the questions.
If there are, while we wait questions from the audience, maybe I have a question to Nodir, and I mean to your team also about the results in Uzbekistan, also based on the comparison done by Stelios. I mean, this idea that the civil society organization can bring innovative ideas, they can contribute an advice which is different, which is more advanced, perhaps, and therefore they are useful to be consulted. It's useful to consult them. So what do you think, I mean, based on the results in Uzbekistan, thank you, Stelios. So the innovative advice, as you can see in Stelios' diagram, it's a major advantage. And we would like to hear from you and from the participants, you know, some examples and how do you interpret these results? If you have some examples to share, thank you.
I'm sure there is very good research from side of Timur Ahmedov, who is doing safe energy in Uzbekistan. Timur, would you please join us? Later on, I will join from our side and from Musti what we do in this case. Yes, please, Timur.
Sure. This is, thank you very much for, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this conference. This is very interesting. Well, just kind of briefly about myself and why this is interesting for me. While I'm originally from Uzbekistan, I spent over 20 years living in the United States, and I came back a year and a half ago to start promoting in Uzbekistan such topics as energy efficiency, sustainability, green building, and renewable energy. And this study is actually very interesting, and I think as changes happen in Uzbekistan, very dramatically, very rapid changes, it seems that the role of non-government organizations and CSOs becomes actually even more critical in bringing those innovative ideas that the large governmental machine may miss or may not have an opportunity or flexibility to quickly identify. And this is where these nonprofits, for example, our nonprofit Green Building Council of Uzbekistan, we also see ourselves as innovators. So same here for other organizations. They may see as an opportunity to bring innovative ideas to the society, to broader society, and also to the attention of the government. I'm glad to see that this is how the organizations view themselves, and that means that's how they will act upon the information they gain through, for example, lifelong training or through participating in conferences like these. And that should help overall society with the transition we're going through in Uzbekistan right now, and actually should help the government of Uzbekistan as a sort of additional resource that at times may have a little bit more flexibility in identifying new directions or new bodies of knowledge that can be used effectively to assist with this transition.
Thank you very much, Timur. I would say that the rapidly changing Uzbekistan. 3 years ago, we were very slow, maybe for some reasons, and nowadays, for the last 3-4 years, Uzbekistan is changing very, very rapidly. And now more initiatives comes from the social organizations with the initiative to do this, to do that. Sometimes the government is a little bit asking us to give us a little bit praise. From my side, I may say that we have started, as you have seen, as OC from 1996, and we have started with a good approach, like teacher training, through the teacher training, cascading teacher training through the people, through the NGOs, through the governmental organizations, where everybody wanted to know to use the languages. I think by nowadays, we did not get much grants from government, especially all these initiatives funded by ourselves. And then there are several grants from US Embassy and British Council, and one grant from government. So everything goes by initiative of the people, initiative of the teachers. And I would like to give the floor to Hudan Zakovan, who is initiating to bring to the platform national experts. Yes, he is. He is one of national experts among the donor organizations, and he has a lot of experience on how the donor organizations are engaging the civil society organizations as well in Uzbekistan. Please, Professor Kamnach, if you can, to add a word about your.
Thank you very much. I would like firstly to thank the presenters for their interesting presentations. It was very interesting for me. And if you will allow, I want to start my comments by answering a serious question about the results of a survey concerning the advantages. I will continue in Uzbek if you don't mind. Syriya tomonidan fuqarolik jamiyatlarini to'g'risidagi oxirgi berilgan savolga shuni aytmoqchi edimki, birinchidan qonunchilik imkoniyatlari oxirgi hozir yuqoridagi taqdimotchilar aytib o'tishdi. Fuqarolik jamiyatlari uchun hozirgi kunda davlat miqyosida yaratilayotgan qonunchilik imkoniyatlari. Bu shu imkoniyatlar bilan bugungi kunda boshqa ya'ni PPP deymiz, o'sha davlat xususiy sherikchilik asosida yoki boshqa nodavlat tashkilotlariga nisbatan fuqarolik jamiyatlarini faoliyati anchagina mustaqil va ularni shu mustaqil faoliyat yuritishi uchun qonunchilik tomonidan ancha qo'llab-quvvatlanadi. Shu uchun ham ular o'zini faoliyatida mustaqilligini ko'rsatishdi va ularni shu boshqa shakldagi muassasalarga nisbatan ancha faollashib borayotganligini ko'rishimiz mumkin. Endi bu faollik yana nima bilan bog'liq? Yuqorida yana aytilyaptiki, fuqarolik jamiyatlari umuman nodavlat tashkilotlari uchun bugungi kunda o'sha davlatni tomonidan ya'ni fondlar deymiz, jamoat fondlari orqali ularni faoliyatini qo'llab-quvvatlash uchun moliyaviy kerak bo'lsa qonunchilik preferensiyalar yaratib berilyapti. Bundan tashqari fuqarolik jamiyatini faollashtirish uchun nafaqat O'zbekiston o'zidagi davlat tashkilotlari, balki boshqa jamoatchilik tashkilotlari va o'sha chet davlatlarni, davlat tashkilotlarini ham faolligini ko'rishimiz mumkin va buni biz o'sha mahorat menejmentni nodavlat tashkilotimizni faoliyatida ham ko'rishimiz mumkin. Ya'ni mahorat menejment bugungi kundagi nechta loyiha amalga oshirgan bo'lsa, shuni deyarli hammasida xorij tashkilotlari bilan birgalikda O'zbekistonda davlat muassasalari va nodavlat tashkilotlari bilan hamkorlikda, shuningdek mahorat menejmentini o'zini platformasida yig'ilgan, jamlangan o'sha mustaqil ekspertlarimiz, ekspertlarni ishtirokida amalga oshirilmoqda. Va shu mustaqil ekspertlarni biza kelgusida safini kengaytirish va shu jamoatchilik tashkilotini faolligini oshirishni tadqiqotchilarni, ya'ni ilm yo'nalishida ketayotganlarni qo'llab-quvvatlash maqsadida biz mahorat menejment tashkilotimizni muassisligida, ta'sischiligida elektron jurnal ta'sis etdik va elektron jurnalni har oyda o'sha turli yo'nalishlar bo'yicha, ya'ni Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkilotining o'sha 2030-yilgacha mo'ljallangan maqsadlari bor. Shu maqsadlarni har bitta yo'nalishini mavzu sifatida olib, o'sha bizani onlayn jurnalimizda oylik konferensiyalar shaklida o'sha 17 ta maqsadni navbatma-navbat o'rganib borish, kerak bo'lsa jamoatchilikni yoki o'sha tadqiqotchilarni shu 17 ta maqsadlarni amalga oshirishda O'zbekistonda amalga oshirilayotgan ishlar, mavjud muammolar yoki mavjud yaratilayotgan imkoniyatlarni muhokama qilib, kerak bo'lsa jamoatchilikka tanishtirib borish uchun o'zimizni oldimizga maqsad qilib qo'ydik va ushbu onlayn jurnalni mana shu aprel oyidan boshlab turib ishga tushirdik. O'ylaymanki, bu jurnalda qiziquvchilar shu yo'nalishda tadqiqot olib 17 ta, ya'ni barqaror maqsadlar yo'nalishida tadqiqot olib borayotgan izlanuvchilarimizda qiziqish ortadi va jamoatchilik tashkilotlari tomonidan ham ushbu bizani hozir olib borayotgan yo'nalishimiz qiziq bo'ladi va hamkorlikda ishlayotgan safdoshlarimiz soni oshadi. Va albatta Yevropa ta'lim fondini ushbu bizani olib borayotgan ishimiz, tadqiqotlarimiz, umuman hozir olib borayotgan faoliyatimizda Ian Kamin boshchiligidagi bizani hamkorlarimiz yoki ekspertlarimizni ishtirokini juda ham qo'llab-quvvatlaymiz va minnatdorchilik bildiramiz va ushbu hamkorligimiz kelgusida yanada faollashadi degan umid bildiramiz. Ko'zim sayni sizga javob.
Rahmat katta. Benzer juda ham chiroyli ochib berdingiz hozir qilinayotgan ishlarni. Men bugun xursandchilik qilib aytmoqchimanki, bizlarga bugungi konferensiyamizga qiziqish bildirgan Xalq ta'limi vazirligi, Xalq ta'limi ilmiy amaliy markazi va o'rta maxsus ilmiy amaliy markazi, xuddi shunday oliy ta'lim ilmiy amaliy markazida juda ko'p xodimlar chiqishdi. Biz maqolalarni berib ulgurmadik, maqolalarni bersak bo'ladimi degan fikrlar bildirilgan. Shu jumladan bugun davramizda ishtirok etayotgan domlamiz yuridik fanlar doktori professor Shuhrat Yakupovdan savol bor. Silviya xonimga mazmunli konferensiya uchun tashkilotchilarga minnatdorchilik bildiryapti domla. Taqdimotlar uchun alohida rahmat. Xorijiy ekspertlarga quyidagicha savol bilan murojaat qilmoqchiman. O'zbekistonda fuqarolik jamiyat institutlari faoliyatlarini baholash, mezonlarini yaratish, ularning davlat va jamiyat taraqqiyotiga qo'shayotgan hissasining yo'nalishlarini belgilash hozirda dolzarb masalaga aylanmoqda. Xorijiy mamlakatlarda inson kapitalini shakllantirishda ular ishtiroki, samaradorligining baholashning aniq mezonlari mavjudmi? Qaysi mezonlarga ko'ra ular shakllanyapti va baholanadi? Syria, I hope this question is translated to you. I think it is directed to you. Yes, please. Can you please answer to this question? Hello, Syria.
Thank you very much. I will say a few words, and also I will introduce my presentation, but this is a very important and very big question. So of course, Ian and Stelios may want to add. First of all, in the context of European Union and the 27 member states, civil society organizations are recognized as an actor of the society. So there is a process of consultation of civil societies, and there are both at European level and also inside each country specific mechanisms for consultation. And these mechanisms are official meetings and official process of collecting ideas about what are needs of the society. And why is this important? Because the civil society organizations are very often more capable to assess needs of groups of populations that have difficulty in participating in the formal system. For example, children that are not in school for many reasons, because of poverty or because of some other type of social problems. So the civil society organization, they are recognized as capable, first of all, to understand this type of needs. This happens also at European level. For example, in the European Union, there are large platforms that collect together many different organizations. One, it is called the Lifelong Learning Platform, and it comprises, more than 100 different organizations. And there are several of these types. So there is an organized process. This is
is there any indicators how to calculate the measure, how to measure the human capital development? You may say about international indexes, maybe. Huh?
How to measure human capital development, or how to measure what the civil society does?
Let me inson kapitalini shakllantirishda ular ishtiroki samaradorligining baholashning aniq mezonlari mavjudmi? Yes, it's about engagement of social civil organizations, how they can be measured, how they are developing human capital, right? It's
how to assess
indicators, or that methodology which you have created might be indicators for the beginning. What do you think?
Well, I ask also the support of my colleague Stelios here. I would say that the methodology that we have created with this survey is quite new.
Oh, okay.
There is no such type of measurement which is standardized. So we have created our own questionnaire because we could not find a standardized questionnaire. However, inside the European Union, there are many different tools to assess the effectiveness of civil society. Why? Because the civil society participates in many different aspects, in many different policies. It's about lifelong learning. It's about, for example, civil society engaged in human rights. There are other civil societies engaged in, making ecological solution bottom up from the communities. So they participate in many different aspects, and therefore there are many different instruments.
Yeah, excuse me, actually, yeah, because time management, it's my responsibility.
Yes.
And you are getting also very tight, but presentations were excellent. And I would like to thank you, Jan, for placing us two links about what is European Training Foundation is doing in order to develop lifelong learning, which is opening all international indexes for each country. Am I right, Jan?
Sort of, yes. What I was just posting were some examples while Syria was talking.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the Syria, and then I think that this is a very big issue, don't you think so?
Absolutely, and
maybe we will devote the next conferences for these indexes.
I think we've got a lot of conferences. You might want to think about increasing the frequency. Not the duration, though. But yes, the point I would add very quickly, and then we need to allow Syria to finish with her 3 or 4 final slides. Very quick point is, in the European context, as Syria was mentioning, things working at a member state level and at a European level, possibly also at regional level. And so it's a very organic, complex system. And you have networks of networks. And so I was just posting some examples of those pan-national and pan-regional organizations. And that's where the knowledge may be, the expertise, and also the solidarity, the support, perhaps, to countries where the civil society organizations have perhaps a longer or more difficult journey. So it's organic and social in as much as it is about policy making. Now back to Syria, I think, for her final slides.
Would you please
yes, I will, and I'm very interested, in your question. So what I will do actually is to revert the order of my presentation, because your question was very interesting. So I will go backward actually, and I will start from these targets. In the European Union, there is a new strategy called the Skills Agenda. And this Skills Agenda is for now. And it has very ambitious targets between 2021 and 2025 that, everyone should go to training. And I want you to look at the first row of this table. In this table, we have the targets that the European Union overall, 27 member states altogether, they want to achieve in 5 years. And they aim at having 50% of adult people, meaning people aged between 25 and 64 years, they participate in learning at least once every year, once every 12 months. So now the current level, the latest year recorded was 2016, it was 38%. So this means a very big increase in participation in learning of any type. So starting from this, in fact, there is a need for a strategy, and there is a need for policy. And this policy is the Skills Agenda, which is made of 4 main blocks. And I want to draw your attention to the first block here, which is called Joining Forces. So how to have all these people participating in acquiring new skills or updating the skills they have at least once a year. The only possibility is to create what the EU calls a Pact for Skills. So the Pact for Skills is the #1 say, instrument or step in order to have more provision of training, in order to create more opportunities for training. So this is telling that in this strategy in European countries, this partnership, this pact involves everyone. It's about the state organization, of course, schools, training centers. This is remain the main, say, skeleton or backbone of the system. It is about the private sector. It is about the enterprises, but it's also about other type of organizations, like the organization of the civil society. There were some important findings presented by my colleague Stelios, but also Nodir, about the fact that the civil society organizations are capable, for example, to involve more women. They are capable to involve vulnerable youth, so young people experiencing difficulties for many different reasons. Also, we heard from the two presenters that one important element is motivation, motivating people to learn, because maybe some people are, say, distant from education because they have had maybe negative experience. They were told that they were not that good, and therefore they have developed a certain maybe negative feeling. So how to address all these issues and involve people in learning, motivating, this is a very important thing. So again, going backward, we have a strategy in order to reach a very ambitious target of 50% of people participating in skilling and reskilling. And why is this important? I mean, we heard just before from the distinguished professor actually about how much the economy is changing. Digitalization, the greening of the economy, also the pandemic. So there are all new challenges, and you said, Feruza, that now Uzbekistan is accelerating the change because there are so many concurrent issues that are important to tackle. And this is the why. This is why it's so important to increase the provision of education and training opportunities of lifelong learning. And this is why also important. I mean, we already. I'm coming to an end, Feruza. I'm closing, and I want just to underline here that this issue of strategic dialogue to be developed, that requires, you know, meetings, agendas. It requires a platform. It requires some routine to establish some procedure on how this dialogue can take place. And also, please remember, and this was a message from Ian at the beginning, that lifelong learning can also be a very, very good opportunity for cooperating with the other countries in the region, so to develop regional cooperation. And this is what all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you very much. You see it in time. Congratulations. I'm sorry for a little bit trying to be in time, because we have schedule for everybody, and we really want if they will take part more actively. Very much thank you, Ian, for sharing the platform of the experts and all the research what is ETF is doing for all countries, not only for European countries. And I really would like to thank you again, ETF, for supporting us for our research. And this conference especially was devoted to the research of ETF and Mahorat, who was your consulting agency here in Uzbekistan, who tried to involve the more NGOs and researchers in this field. And I hope this will open that door for the researchers like Pratika here, the others to think about how engagement of civil society organizations might help to each researcher to do their research, plus develop the government towards the sustainable development. And I'm sure that Mahorat and all experts of Uzbekistan will be ready to help, to assistant, to be your shoulder, TTF, and the Ministry of Higher Education and Secondary Special Education in Uzbekistan to develop their skills, to develop their society. Thank you very much for the participation. And then I hope to see you all for the next conference of Mahorat and management, and we'll see at the next last Friday of next month, May, which will be that day, sorry. May 30th. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, and thank you, and a happy 1st of May to all of you tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you, translators. Special thanks to the translators and interpreters.
Yes, sorry, I didn't mention that. Thank you very much to Natasha and Akram. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Jan, do you want to talk with about or?
It's up to you. I'm available if you want to carry on and talk, or we can have another appointment. We can also work tomorrow morning if you're
Yes.
working.
Okay, we are ready to work tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I've got nothing planned, so just let me know by email when you want to meet, and we can.
I will send you a link.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It went very well. There's lots of things that we can now build upon.
Yeah.
We were getting a bit worried because the links weren't coming through. So it would be nice tomorrow to have a nice relaxed chat about things and how to develop further.
Yes. Yes.
And there's so many resources now that we need to keep together, documents, links online. Well done. Very good.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
good.
you very
Well
much.
done.
Thank you for the trust, and then we will continue. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nadir. I see your presentation. You weren't in a car this time. That's very unusual. Okay. Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye, Jan.
Bye.